2021 Chevrolet 3500HD Duramax, four-wheel drive, 70,000 miles, and it is in for some attention to the rear differential. Welcome back to the shop. Customer complaint was the rear differential keeps running itself empty, and it was probably due to the pinion seal leaking. You can see it's been slinging for a bit. And when I got in and drove it down the road, I figured out that the pinion bearings are completely wasted in this thing. So I'm going to pull the cover off, let this thing drain out, and then we'll see how bad it's damaged. I have pinion bearings, axle bearings, side bearings, and the seals here. We'll see what all we need to do as soon as we get it apart. If you want to see what I do, stick around. Oh yeah, that smells good. That guy's on there. So this truck has synthetic, I think it's 70/90 synthetic fluid in it, which is supposed to be lifetime. But lifetime's short when you don't keep fluid in it. Oh God, I almost wore that. Can you smell that? I can smell that. It's horrible. Oh, she's done. Needs a ring and pinion. It smells like a burnt cigar, like when you put a cigar out and then somebody relights it. It smells horrible. Easy adjustments on the side bearings, that's cool. That ring gear and center section is probably going to weigh 70 pounds. I got to pull the axle shafts, and then I got to figure out what all parts I don't have for the pinion, because I don't see any shims or crush sleeves. Technically it should use the same shims as what is in it, but sometimes that's not the way it ends up being. Let's get it apart. Alright, you can see the chatter marks and weird wear marks on the gear from being run low. Not really knife edging yet, but it's pretty ugly. So we're going to replace the ring and pinion, the pinion bearings and the pinion, carrier bearings. And then we're probably going to go ahead and do the axle bearings and axle seals at the same time. Even though these axle full floating hubs have their own seals and their own valley of oil, the oil could be contaminated from metal. And you can see in the pan on the magnet how much metal is in there. That's just a ton. That's just crazy. But that's what happens if you're paying a guy to change oil in your garage and he's not taking a look at the truck to see if there's other issues. Part of what we do here when we're doing maintenance on these trucks is inspecting them for other things like pinion seal leaks that can ultimately save you money, because a pinion seal replacement's like maybe 400 bucks worst case scenario. This is going to be like a $6,000 repair probably by the time we're all said and done with it. So side bearings, axle bearings, not axle bearings, hub bearings for the axle hubs because it's a full floater. So hub bearing, hub seals. These are one-time use. If you pull the hub off, you have to replace those. Diff cover gasket. Pinion seal, which I'm gonna guess we're gonna have a pinion seal in there, but we have it just in case, or if I screw it up putting it in. Pinion seal, side bearings, 7590 GL5. Big old honking shot put. There's our crush sleeve, our nut, and gear bolts with Loctite already installed. They are left-hand thread. Oh, there's no part number on them. They just know what they're doing, I guess. Huh. I like seeing that. Poland, USA, Japan. Nice stuff, guys. At least I know it's gonna be right, and the parts are gonna fit. So I did need the pinion seal. No pinion seal in there. Alright, so this looks to me to be an AAM, or American Axle Manufacturing Rear Differential. They made these from 2003 to 2023 is the interchange on these. They're really nice axle. I've had to put a few of them in. Normally I'm fixing these because an axle seal goes bad. It leaks the fluid out of the hub, and then the bearings start to weld themselves to the spindle, and then the spindle melts, and that spindle melting causes the axle shaft to break, and it causes all sorts of problems. I just did a couple videos on that last summer. No, earlier this summer. We had two of those failures from two different companies because they weren't bringing their trucks in for inspections on brakes and such, and normally we'll see it's all wet and we'll be like, oh, you need axle seals before you need a rear axle. You're like, no, we don't want to do that. We just want to drive our truck and make money. And then the truck's down for a month, and they're mad at us that their truck's down for a month while we gather parts. So do it when we tell you it needs it, and you'll have more uptime with your trucks. It's the whole point of bringing them into the shop, guys. Anyway, let's get to work. These are pretty straightforward. We got screw-in adjustments on each side to adjust our backlash, and should have a shim behind the pinion gear, which should be able to just be removed and put onto the new gear, and then put it back together. So I got to drop my drive shaft, and I got to drop my axle shaft, which oddly enough AMC differential covers work excellent for catching the full floaters, because you can pull your axle out, it'll drop some fluid in here, and you don't have to take the wheels off when you're just doing the center section. So handy little trick. It turns out from the research I did, it is a American Axle Manufacturing axle. It's different from 2020 to 2024, and it'll probably be the same one they use in the 2025s. A 12-inch ring gear, because this is a 3500 with a diesel. The 11.5-inch ring gear is what came in the gas truck. Got the shaft. Wow. Now, seeing that this is a 12-inch ring gear, it does require some backlash. But not that much backlash. That ring and pinion are destroyed. That's wild. We'll just say that it made a little bit of noise driving down the road. Oh, 105 thousandths. You can feel. Actually, you can see the ridge the groove in the teeth. Those chatter marks are something to be admired. That's just crazy. I will say it's a testament to American Axle Manufacturing, who builds these axles, that this thing was running low on fluid long enough to create over 100 thousandths backlash, and it still drives down the road. It's noisy. It's not going to do it much longer, but as long as you got fluid in it, it's still gonna do its work. S47, so they're both the same caps. Oh, they've got dowels in them for alignment for when they're machined. Explains why they're hard to get out. Doesn't look like my axle bearings spun on me. That's good. Oh, I need to put on some gloves. This is going to be disgusting. I'm going to smell like burnt gear oil for 3 days. My wife's going to love that. Oh. So my preload's not exactly where it needs to be because I can move it, but I have to dial my adjusters back to give me enough clearance to get the center section out. I grab a pin for that. This is going to be heavy. This one's going to be heavy. There's no shims that I have to worry about, so that's nice. Luckily, they gave me enough room in between the axle and the housing and the, oh my lord, fuel tank to pull it out. It has a boss for a drain plug, but it's not installed. That would make servicing these a lot easier, but no big deal. Alright, let's get the pinion out of here and get it switched out. And then, it's all sorts of messed up. Drop my drive shaft, pull my pinion, put on some different gloves before I get schmutz all over everything. Boy, that's going to be fun to put back together. It's coming right at me. Got some knife edges on it. Let's knock our bearings out. Make sure we've got the bearing races in our parts. And we can start going back together. Ding, fries are done. It's loud. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Oh, so it's going to have to be done the old-fashioned way. Air's off. Oh, my socket's broke. Anybody into doing Damascus? Be some good knife edge metal. Get the pressure bending those in. That's crazy. That's going to be fun to put back together. Come back here, little fella. Looks like I need a bigger bearing splitter.
Tomorrow, we'll go off the air tomorrow. You've got Ohio traders win a big market every day. And we're also big construction projects in Ohio. Ohio traders win and provide great hands-on training. You'll learn the second benefits for labor.
I'm gonna be tired tonight. Ooh, I'm gonna need a nap after this. This is the biggest crush sleeve I've ever had to crush. Whew. Goodness. I'm gonna go eat lunch after I get this crushed. Ooh, my arms are sore. Good thing I had a torque multiplier. I don't think I'd have been able to do this job if I didn't have that tool. It's coming right at me. Ooh, brush sleeve is crushed. Alright, these are going to be a bear to torque because they're like 110 foot-pounds plus 45 degrees. So I figure I'll do final torque in the truck, using the truck to hold everything still. My Pinion preload's pretty good. It's a little on the tight side for new bearings, but they'll loosen up. They should be fine. Let me get these caps bolted down so I can verify my backlash. And if my backlash is good, then I'll put in my lock tabs and torque my ring gear bolts, torque my carrier bolts, install my drive shaft, and then I can put the cover on. And then it'll be time to do my wheel hubs. I'm tired, I'm gonna need a break. Wow, that was a lot of torquing. Eight thousandths. And what was their backlash that they wanted? So preferred backlash is 4 to 8 thou. So I'm going to bump it in just a hair to try and get 6 thou. Because once this wears in, it'll open up to 8 thou. Might even try for 5. And I'm going to do that by increasing my bearing preload and just tightening the driver's side ring and see if I can make that happen. 5 thou backlash. I'll leave it right there. Let's lock it down and hit all my fasteners for torque check. Well, it's time to get to work on these wheel bearings. I decided to replace the wheel bearings since we ran low on fluid a couple times, and the fluid out here is pretty gross too. Somebody's been in here. You can see they Hammered that a couple times. I'll address that with a file. You can also see that that guy's bent. Those aren't, I don't know, I guess they are supposed to be like that. Maybe you're supposed to grab on those with a pair of pliers to pull it off. I usually just use a pick. Seems to work okay. I'll grab a pair of pliers to see if that works better. Well, that's not the trick. I guess I'll do it the same as I did the other side. Stab myself in the face. Caught it. That was kind of difficult to get off. So this is a 2020 through 2024 or current AAM axle, and it takes a 9-pin socket that's a little bigger than the other ones. Gotta take that. Oh, well, that's really weird. Somebody lose the lock pin? What did I do? There's normally a lock pin in there. Well, that's awkward. Did it come out when I pulled the ring? That's a strange anomaly. Huh. It's the first time I've had one of these show up without the lock pin in it. That's really weird. Luckily it was on the passenger side, or it might have tried to unscrew itself. This was the driver's side. The friction on the inner bearing race could have unscrewed that without the lock pin. I'll have to get a lock pin from the dealer tomorrow. I don't think I have any square stock to make one. Actually, I can cut a piece of steel and make a lock pin for it. That's wild. So he's definitely been into this before, because it's got red Loctite on that side, black Loctite on this side. Oh, somebody's done bad things. Let me get my caliper and caliper bracket off. We can pull our hub assembly with the rotor off. And we'll remove the seal that's going to stick to the spindle, change our bearings and races, and then put it all back together. Those are heavy. So this is the inner part of the seal, which gets pressed on when you put this together. And I just spread it out. So I take a chisel bit, I hit it on both sides, and it expands it enough for it to come out. Not trying to get into the knuckle at all. You just want to be working the part of the seal. The seal is off without damaging anything. Let's knock out our bearings and our races, and then we'll put our new races and our new bearings and our new seal on. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. You do have to have a special tool for, well, I mean, you can do it without the special tool, but this makes it a lot easier. Just saying. Got my bearing, my inner races, my inner bearing, and my inner seal are all replaced. Let's heave-ho this guy up here. And I'll put on my spindle nut, but I won't be able to do anything more with it until I pick up a key in the morning. But at least the heavy lifting will be done. Oh, maybe. Oh, come on. Ooh, I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. Oh, yep, definitely gonna feel that tomorrow. So I always wet down my bearings with some fresh oil. Sometimes I'll go so far as to just pack them with grease. But I'm actually going to flood this one. I'll show you how to flood the hubs. When I'm done, basically you're just tilting the axle in a fashion that allows you the oil inside the system to be to fill the outer hubs. It's pretty easy to do, but it's an extra step that sometimes gets missed. And if you don't get proper lube into the hubs and the customer picks up their truck and they hop right onto the freeway, then about 10 miles down the road, their axle, their wheel hubs lock up and bad things happen. Ask me how I know. Well, don't ask me how I know. I did have a friend who did that back when I worked at the dealership. You have to put this on all the way until it's tight. And you back it off, and it's just a slight amount of preload on these. So you back it off. And we will go just back one piece. Basically, we want it to be hand tight. After tightening it all the way, back it off to the first slot that lines up. Should be right there. I'll stop by the dealership on the way in. We'll pick up my new key, put on my key retainer, install my axle shaft, then we can put some fluid in it and run it down the road after we tilt the axle each way and flood the hubs. So, make the progress. I'm tired. I've done enough heavy lifting for one day. I'm going home. I remember these things being like, I don't know, 60 cents. It's just a little keyway. Here's your GM part number. This is $5.42 now, which is ridiculous. And then my lock ring retainer goes on. It's over here. Alright, now I can put on my caliper bracket, my caliper, and my axle shaft. Alright, we are on the mend and this project is coming to an end. I actually have my rear axle jacked up a little on this side, which once this is full will allow fluid to fill my outer wheel bearing hub. And then I'll jack this side as well to get fluid over into this hub. Over there. Right there. And then we'll take it for a test drive. Check it out, see how she works. I gotta put my brake sensor back in. Well, that's a wrap on this session on what I'm doing in the shop. This truck came in with 100 thousandths of backlash on the ring gear, which was clearly apparent by the noise that was ringing out of the back end. We've since fixed all that. I've gone 2 heat cycles, test drove it about 25 miles, everything feels good. Customers have been notified, they can go back to work with their truck. I'm sure they'll immediately hook it up to a trailer that's probably over the weight rating for this truck to pull. But that's what people do. They use their trucks, they go out and they make money with them. This one drags a directional boring machine around. So, it's back in service, back in action. That's what we need them for. Go out and make us money. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Have a safe day. We'll see you on the next one.